was a pre-med student after high school. I was planning to be a doctor, and I was on that road until circumstances turned around and changed for me. My dad was convicted and sentenced to 50 years in prison. I'll never forget, he looked me in the eye and he said, "Son, I'm not a bank robber. I'm innocent. The government framed me." And I said, "I have to do something to help you out." And we kind of argued about it. He tried to dissuade me. When he knew my mind was made up, he said that if you ever had to kill anybody, could you do it? I said, "Yeah, Dad, if the circumstances were right, I believe I can." And he said, "If you're going to be on the street, I want you on the street the right way." And then he said to me, "Just go home. Somebody will be in touch with you." And as a result, 2 weeks later, I was indoctrinated into the life. It was Halloween night, 1975. The boss was seated at the head of a horseshoe configuration. All the captains were alongside of them. I stood in front of the boss. I held out my hand. He took a knife and cut my finger. Some blood dropped on the floor. I cupped my hands. He took a picture of a saint who was a Catholic altar card, put it in my hands and lit it aflame. And he said, "Tonight, Michael Franzese, you are born again into a new life, into La Cosa Nostra, the Mafia." And he said, "Violate this oath, betray your brothers, and you will die and burn in hell like this saint is burning in your hands." I saw the government as the enemy trying to harass my dad. I just felt I had to do what I needed to do as his son to help him out. And aside from my number one goal of getting him out of prison, my second goal was to be the best possible mob guy I could be. And I went on to make a significant amount of money. And yes, my target were big targets. I hated the government. I had devised a scheme to defraud the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. I had organized all the Russian mob guys. They were all part of my crew. I had over 300 gas stations. I had 18 companies. We were actually paying off politicians. I kept acquiring businesses. The gas business allowed me to create an empire. Height of my operation, I mean, I'm bringing in $7-8 million a week. I had my own jet plane. I had a Lear 25A jet. I had a Bell helicopter. I had 2 different yachts. I had 300 guys under me, ready to do anything I tell them to do. I had beat all of these cases the government was throwing at me. And after about 9 years, I got my dad out of prison. At that point, a story had broke in one publication that said that I was becoming powerful enough to break off from the Colombo family and start my own family. There was no truth to that whatsoever. It was a fictitious story. But it got into people's head. It's a double-edged sword. When you're making that kind of money and you're starting to have that kind of an influence, and I was one of the younger guys, started to get some resentment from the older guys. They got a hold of me, and I'm walking down that cement path, and I'm hearing crickets chirping, and I'm smelling the flowers, and I'll be honest with you, I started praying. This is a bad setup. I'm going to get killed. You know, one of the dangers of that life, you're in trouble, you walk into a room, you don't walk out again. This whole thing was just so robotic. We walk down and we go into the basement apartment. I sit down with the boss, and they referenced this story. They said, "You're making $2 billion a week." And he said, "Well, you know what happens if that's true, right?" As if he was saying to me, "You're going to get killed if we find out that's true." And then I caught myself, because you don't get mad with the boss and you don't get out of hand. Answered their questions, and then it was over. I was looking for my father. He wasn't there. Now I'm starting to get a little nervous. He grabs my arm and he said, "Your father, he didn't help you one bit. He hurt you, Mike. He threw you under the bus." And I was just stunned. He didn't stand up for me. And that was devastating. It was crushing. The life lost value to me. If this life can separate father and son, it just reached a breaking point. I just made the decision that I had to walk away. You know, almost out of nowhere, I fell in love with a young woman. My love for her was really the catalyst that gave me the strength to walk away. It was a very complex decision, because how do you walk away and survive? When it became public that I was walking away, I mean, everybody predicted my death. It was all over the media that I was going to get killed. It was no surprise to me. I knew it. I mean, I knew the life well. I knew that they were coming after me. Everyone I know and now my dad, either dead or in prison for the rest of their lives. I don't know anybody that's survived that life. You know, I spent 3 years in solitary confinement in the hole, 6x8 cell, 24/7. But it was during that alone time when I was just the bottom of life. I can't explain how hopeless I felt. And, you know, I've experienced every emotion from ecstasy right down to grief. Hopelessness is the worst. You're in this deep, dark hole. Everything that's dear to you is gone. That's how I felt. It was the lowest part of my life. And I felt a connection with God. It became clear and true to me. I believe that people need to search for something more than what we have here on earth. Well, search for more than what you're seeing here on this earth, because there is a place beyond this earth. There is a spiritual life. Never give up hope. You know, there's always hope in life if you set yourself in the right direction. Life is tough enough. Everything could be going good. You could be doing the right thing, and all of a sudden, things hit you out of left field. God forbid a sickness, you lose your job. Things happen in life. When you do the wrong thing, and you put more baggage on your shoulders to carry around throughout your life, before you know it, that you're 40, 50, 60 years old, and you look back in your life and you say, what did I do? What did I accomplish? There's a lot of things that we don't control, and our life can go down the tubes in 1 second. I'll tell you this, it made me realize that how humble that we need to be in life, because at the end of the day, we're not. Life is fragile and it's delicate. Machiavelli, you know, he was kind of the patron saint of the mob. We followed his ideology in that the end justifies the means. You can do anything and everything you had to do, whether right, wrong, legal, illegal, to maintain control of your kingdom. That was kind of the Machiavellian way, and that was certainly the mob way. I contrast that with King Solomon. You got to do things the right way. You got to be honest. You got to have integrity. You got to be upright, because in the long run, it's going to pay off. I try to follow his route. Now, forget Machiavelli, you go to Solomon.